Today I want to share with you the fundamentals about the two different types of project management. One of them is called Waterfall, the other one is called Agile. Whenever you meet these two, the Waterfall methodology or the Agile methodology, you will hear people being very opinionated about one and the other. And you will hear people saying stuff like, Waterfall is outdated, Agile doesn't help you to achieve stuff. There's a lot of emotion about that, and let me say it like that, both make sense. You just have to decide based on your actual situation and the project that you want to run or the problem that you want to solve, which way to go. And both are absolutely valid. You can see it like red wine or white wine. It's not that one is better than the other. There's the right dish for every wine or the right wine for every dish. And that's the same about these methodologies. Where is all this coming from? Traditionally, people were trying to run projects and plan them. They wanted to feel reliability. So what they did is they thought about what am I trying to achieve? And then you break it down into logical clusters. I define milestones accordingly. I define the steps to get to each of these milestones. And then you work off them together with your team. And that seemed to work for quite a while. But we as humans, we have developed more and more into topics where we actually go into fields where we are much more exploring. Especially in the startup industry, we are actually tapping into unknown territory. We are developing solutions based on technologies that we haven't 100% figured out yet. And this is where Agile kicks in. In an Agile methodology, you more explore and you go and you develop and you think and you define as you go. And that makes totally sense. So the fundamental question here is, the project that you're running, do you have a very clear scope? Do you have a very strict amount of resources? And is there something like a deadline? Is there a timing that is kind of strict? And if these three things are a given and you need to solve that, then you might need to go into classic waterfall logic. You define what you want to do, you break it down, you put it on a timeline, and then you work along that plan. If you stick to waterfall as this minimum set, what waterfall could or should be, then this is one world of thinking. The other one is you probably don't know the scope yet exactly because you're still developing it. Or you can't yet foresee which resources you will have. Or it doesn't make sense to define a clear deadline because you're exploring, right? Then you can and should work in an Agile mode. And the fundamentals of Agile are you think about ideas, you write them down in a backlog, you prioritize them, you define your next sprint, you have a certain time frame for your sprint. It's very often 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month, but you can actually handle that in a pragmatic way. And after the sprint is over, you look at your results. You look at what you achieved, not only in terms of things that you implemented, but also the impact that they have, how they work on your KPIs, etc. And based on that, you decide and then you iterate, you define your next sprint, and it's an iterative process through which you go and you move forward with that. So if somebody comes to you and expects you to deliver a clear scope at a certain time with a given number of resources, and you do that in an agile way, and you just like develop ideas, prioritize them, go back, etc., you might actually run into problems. You need to plan, break that down, and work off your plan. But vice versa, if you are in an exploring mode and you can't know in which time you can actually solve something, and the person coming to you and expecting something is changing the scope, and the resources are probably also not 100% fixed, and somebody expects you to present a plan to which you will stick, please say no, because in such a situation you need to work agile, otherwise you have no chance of succeeding in such a scenario. And this is what makes sense, so decide for one or the other depending on the situation you are in. If you have any questions related to that, if you have a different opinion, then please comment on this and let's make this a discussion if that makes any sense. Thank you very much.